before 1 a.m. after probably August. I always slept after midnight, never before midnight. I slept only for 3 to 4 hours. And I was always stood 4th rank from 8th to 12th. That's, I don't know why, what happened. 2nd, 3rd would change, 1st sometimes, but I would always be 4th rank. And roll number was 44. I don't know how that happened. It's a sheer coincidence. I was the laundry secretary. I was the secretary at Centenary Block and then A1 Block, and I was the monitor for the class. I took every opportunity. I used to win debates. So if anybody is not participating in prose and debate competition, think twice. You have to prepare very well. That's a great foundation that has helped me. So that's on the Vidyashala side. I'll share one incident from my astronomy class that it's a little bit on the spiritual side, but those are the questions that you need to answer. We had gone to watch Jupiter or Saturn in the first PUC, and we came back and we had studies from 9:15 to 10, compulsory, right? You still have that, right, Maharaj? Night study? Second night study. So we had second night study. I always used to sleep for 15-20 minutes power nap because I used to study after 10 o'clock. But that day, after watching Saturn at 8:45 or so, I come, why is Saturn existing? Why is Jupiter existing? Why is it all not blank, right? Why is there Big Bang theory? What was before Big Bang, right? All the tough questions at that time, my head started hurting. But I went and slept early that day. But the point is, those are the big questions we need to cherish. See, your life is defined by the questions you have. So if you have any questions, I think you have great Swamis here. I was a little bit timid. I would say go and ask them. They will guide you on the right side. So that's one anecdote. But then I will also tell you, one of the things I've learned in my career is, as I said, making wealth is not evil. So make sure you earn well and donate to Vidyashala as well, because you can do good. If not here, do good. So earning wealth, not everybody has. Why did your parents send here, right? To study well and but then you can contribute to the society in broader way. And every alumni does that. Whether you like it or not, you will do it. I'm 100% confident on that. So one thing I'll tell, there'll be ups and downs. I studied 12th standard, 5 years, very well protected. You don't know the challenges your parents are going through to send you here. You don't even know. So you must respect that and work harder. What happened to me was, after 12th, I got into engineering and medical school. 2 months after I left, just my dad passed away. Okay? I went through really tough times for 4 years. Economically, my mother was not working. I share that because the foundation that Vidyashala had given me kept me focused. So I'm sharing this because we didn't want to take any help from anybody. We lived in a constrained way. I used to go to JC in Chappal, okay, ride a bicycle. Before that, I thought my dad will buy me Yamaha, all of those things. My dad was an executive engineer in PWD. We wanted to cut down. And then I bought the moped in 3rd year. Then my sister also joined engineering. Then I had to give it to my sister. But I was very focused. But here is the thing I'm going to talk during my couple of other things. Your dreams are very important. So I used to go to the computer science lab. At that time, Google right now. At that time, the company to join was Sun Microsystems. They were the pioneers of internet. Their lab was the best in the computer science department. I had a complete urge internally. I can't tell you. It's not just a fake thing that I want to work for Sun. I had a dream I want to work for Sun Microsystems. And I fulfilled that dream 2 years after completing my engineering with no help from anybody. It was sheer hard work of mine and dedicated focus. No recommendation, nothing. And all of those things I could do because I was leadership skills here as a Centenary Block monitor. I was a parade commander. I was a sergeant. And I used to win every debate and extempore talk here that builds confidence. It's not just the rank. So if somebody is first rank, I think that's a curse in many ways because you get overconfident. The reason is, I'll tell you another story. When I first came to Vidyashala, first day you all share in your class, right? Where do you come from, which rank or whatever. Everybody said, I'm first rank from my school. And I was really scared. Like, I never got first rank. I was in the top 10. I would get 100 in maths and 98 in science. My dad was happy. That was a shocker for me. So I worked hard because the competition was there. And I beat everybody who was saying first rank. So I say some of these things, you need to have the joy. You need to have the competitive skill. Don't be too humble. Okay, you have to be a competitor. The world is not kind on you. Okay, so I worked really hard. So I took that as a challenge, and that challenge continued for me even in engineering. Nobody was there. I was among the only 6 people who got a campus interview job. That year there was the Iraq war, and there were no jobs, downturn. Only 6 of us got a job, and I got into Wipro. And I'll tell you another story I want to tell. How you make decisions are important. I left Wipro after 1 year because I wanted to go to US. That's how I shaped my career. So I joined another company. Wipro was the best company to join at that time. I joined another company because that would get me into software development in an area I wanted to work, which is operating systems, which you all guys know, like Android or Linux. I was building software within the Linux, not on the Linux. So I'm a system software developer. And I joined that, and they even gave me less salary than my 1 year experience. Small money. I didn't care because my goal was long term. Okay? I worked, and that was the stepping stone for me to go to the US. And I had learned so much. My trademark is working hard. Look, this is my biggest input I'll give you. Hard work is a prerequisite for luck, to be lucky. Okay, every hardworking guy will not be lucky, but every lucky person is hardworking. So I worked hard, and I went to US, and every interview I would nail it. So that's how I got in. And then along the way, I made my choices with no guide and help, but a lot of mentors. So that's kind of what currently I'm the Chief Revenue Officer. What does that mean is I manage everything on the business side. So that was my dream as well at that time. So your dreams have to be very important. I have an assignment for all of you at the end. So this is like a nutshell of what my background is. So let's go through a little bit more about Silicon Valley. So Silicon Valley, I was sharing with several people last week, the best of India goes there. All the smart people go there. If you think you're the first rank, I told you my experience coming into 8th standard here, everybody was first rank there, but I beat all of them. So if you're first rank here, don't be too proud that there are other people who are smarter than you. So Silicon Valley, everybody is first rank. You have to succeed there. So when I joined, I used to work with all the guys from Stanford and others, and I was one of the youngest staff engineers at 27. And there is another person in my group, he went to Mandya, PS college. If you look at him, he's not the most polished English-speaking guy. He was the youngest senior staff engineer. He wrote the entire storage operating system. He would not speak, but he worked hard. So the point here is that your competition, you have to compete at the world level, not at Vidyashala level. That should be your goal. Okay? And that competition comes from not just getting marks. You get by competing in the intrapreneurship, entrepreneurship. Your student clubs are all very important. So you look at what is Silicon Valley. I think it'll give a little bit of geography here. So there is water in the middle. That is the bay. That is called Bay Area. So most of the popular companies are along the side. Okay? There is Google in Mountain View. There is Facebook in Redwood, in Menlo Park. I used to work in the same campus. That's where Sun Microsystem was. There is LinkedIn. There is Lyft. Every possible company is along that path. And along the water, this is the most expensive real estate in the US. And the other good part here is that, I'll show you it in my next slide, people are not just working. This is where Vidyashala values come into the picture. You're not, and one of the things all correspondents and Maharaj say is, if you want your son to get a rank, don't send him here. If getting rank is your goal, Vidyashala is not the place. But if you want an all-round development, send them to Vidyashala, right? So the same here, people go for hiking, and there are people who do Ironman. That means they have to swim for 5 miles, run for 15 miles, and then bike for another 15 miles. They all push the limit of their physical endeavor as well, in addition to their software development job or business management. So the people coming here are really driven, and that's how you get better. So the point here is that always associate yourself with people who are better than you. Don't compromise on quality. And that's one of the things that is inbuilt in me, because of my mom always made sure that I connected with the right people. So associate with the right people, not necessarily nice people. You have to find something that is of value within them and associate. So in Silicon Valley, it lifts everybody. Because you're working, even if you don't want, like in Vidyashala, you're doing all the activities there, you go for dinner or any event you'll meet and somebody else will motivate you. And there is Stanford on one end, and there's Berkeley on the other end, 2 great universities. And there is Santa Clara University and San Jose State University. So those are all, this area has, like, you can think of it as a bigger version of Vidyashala. I'm going to say that not demeaning Vidyashala in any way. It is just that it is at a world class, and the reason I'm speaking here and the reason my classmate Vishwa is here and we will all bring more people is this should be the epitome. It will be, it's already, but we can go more level up, right? Why is it not there? How many Nobel laureates are coming from Vidyashala? Right? Let's talk about that, right? How many billionaires are there from Vidyashala? So then we don't have. That means we are not at the peak. But so those are the challenges that I want to talk about. So briefly, I also want to highlight the Vedanta Society in San Francisco. Just a brief history because I'm very actively associated, because I'll tell you why. So this was built in, this is the first Hindu temple registered in the Western Hemisphere. Swami Vivekananda registered it in 1900, 122 years ago. This building was built in 1905. The second floor was built in 1908. And I go and stay in the second floor. Sometimes the corner one is the shrine, and I typically stay in the last room. I spend at least once a month or sometimes before COVID, but now I stay once in 6 months. I go stay there. This is the old temple. And then, where do I point? Okay. So this is this is the new temple, 2 blocks away, Vallejo and Fillmore, beautiful temple, and there's a garden there. And look at the view you get from the temple, beautiful. It's in overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge and the water, a fantastic location. And look at the shrine. All Ramakrishna Math shrines are beautiful, and this is a wonderful one. Go to sfvedanta.org. You will find, I think I have the link here. And that website, I coordinated, but it's always a team effort, but it has come out very well. So the reason I'm mentioning all of those things is, these are the characteristics that become a DNA. You're not doing one thing. You're always active. Vidyashala students, we don't are idle. We are always looking for multiple ways to contribute. And my mentor and Swamiji in charge is Swami Tattvamananda. I'll talk about him at a different time. And Swami Vedananda is a PhD from Berkeley, and he's Jewish background, but he loved the Vedanta concept, and he's been a monk for over 45 years. He's a wonderful person. And one thing you will appreciate about all the Swamis from Ramakrishna Math is their sense of humor is the best. So we have a lot of good conversation with him. So this is Vedanta Society. So what is Silicon Valley experience? Maharaj, tell me about the time. Give me some heads up. I don't want to interrupt you, but there are 5 things I want to talk about, and I'll give stories along this way. Okay? The number 1 is diverse experiences. I already mentioned. So being in Vidyashala, my DNA, if I can call, is breadth versus depth. I like too many things, like playing hockey, debates, and other things. So diverse experience adds to your creativity. So if you look at Mark Zuckerberg, who built Facebook, what is his background? Anybody know what he did for undergrad? It's a software company, but he did psychology. And then he was coding at the same time. That's the reason social network is all about psychology of people trying to interact. So diverse experiences are very valuable. And I have gone out of the way to get those diverse experiences. So I was a software engineer. Even when I was a software engineer, I used to take a lot of opportunities to lead other things. I created my own class on operating system internals. Nobody wants to teach, okay? So I took at an opportunity. If I teach, I can do other things more. I'll tell you one more anecdote from Vidyashala that is tied to this. In 10th, do you still have objective questions that come from 8th and 9th standard in 10th? Right? So we used to have that. In 10th, 20 marks were from 8th and 9th. So I used to write every 6 months, a midterm, when I go to a holiday, I'd write a book on what possible questions can be asked, right? Multiple choice. And that book, when I finished 10th, it was passed on to about 5 years. Even after I left, somebody said, oh, you are Sanjay M, roll number 44, I have your book. So the same way, you have to leave a legacy that was there. And you look at all the people in the valley, they do multiple things, diverse experience. So I was an engineer, and then an entrepreneur. I started my MBA, and there's an entrepreneur we invited, just like your student club. There are hundreds of successful entrepreneurs in the Bay Area. So he made a good comment. This ties back to the innovation club you have. The first comment he made was, you're looking at my current success. He had sold 3 companies to Cisco. He's a multi-billionaire, Shiv Kumar. Then he told, you don't know the 5 other failures that I've had. So he made a good advice at that time. Before you start a company, go join a startup. Because they are paying you already and you're learning. They're paying you to do the job and then paying you to learn. So, and I was talking to another startup there. I was thinking I'll not join, but I joined. I took the risk. And we were acquired by IBM. So I went through an experience of being acquired by IBM. After that, I've done diverse things. That was my talent, my approach. Your path could be different. I did many different things. I did mergers and acquisitions for 2 years to acquire companies. I built products. Then I went on kind of a sales role. So that built me. My experience is breadth of skills. That's what enabled me to be a general manager. So my path is to become a CEO. That CEO is just an outcome, but that's how I'm building multiple experiences. That's one approach for me that works. So diverse experiences are important. The second most important thing is continuous learning, and that is the DNA of Silicon Valley. Nobody stops learning. Give an example. Vinod Khosla is a software guy. He made his billion. He's a venture capitalist. He wanted to invest in clean technology. Right? Now everybody talks about climate change. He spent a year getting all the 50 books that he could read and spent his midnight oil. He's a billionaire. He doesn't need to work. He can sleep and enjoy and play golf, but he's reading all the books to make a change. So constantly learning. Stanford has continuing education. They're the people who teach are all the best in the Silicon Valley. There's a class on negotiation. How do you negotiate a deal? There's a class on that. There's a workshop. And the people who teach are the best. So you get access to the best people. So I also take classes even now. So you always have to study. Continuous learning is the other part. And the third one is paying it forward. This, I don't think, happens anywhere else in the world apart from San Francisco Bay Area. It doesn't happen even in Boston, New York, or Houston. I am a mentor at many incubators, and we have teams visiting from Switzerland, Germany, Hong Kong. And when we talk, they invite me, I go, and sometimes I talk to them about their business plan. Everybody tells, what is this? You guys are sharing all those ideas without me asking, without thinking about what. Even in Bangalore, if you go, they always, in India, it's more prevalent. What is it in for me, right? Or they'll say, oh, if I give this idea, I'm going to lose. Silicon Valley doesn't work that way. You come and ask, I'll give 2 examples. You have heard of Steve Jobs, and this is an example I want to give you guys. He was in 10th standard that time. He called up Steve Jobs. You guys know Steve Jobs, right? Okay. He called up Apple. He called up Bill Hewlett, who was he was the CEO of HP. At that time, you'll have a directory and you'll get everybody's phone number. He called him. It was dinner time, and he called him, oh, I'm Steve Jobs. I'm the 10th standard student at Palo Alto. I needed some electrolyzer, whatever, some parts for my class project I'm not able to find. And this guy, Bill Hewlett, is laughing. Who is this kid has the guts to call me to ask for this without thinking twice? See, if you look at Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, they don't worry about what the world thinks. They want something and they will go after it. He called and then he gave him those parts, and he also gave him a summer internship. Come and work in our lab, you'll know how to fix things. So that's what happens. So in your guys, what is the worst anybody can say? No. Right? So that is the key thing. So, and paying it forward. And Steve Jobs has done that. He has mentored Mark Zuckerberg. You heard of Indra Nooyi, who is the CEO of PepsiCo. When she became the CEO of PepsiCo, she wanted some advice. She called Steve Jobs. And even though he was not well, he gave her 2 hours to talk. And it went on for 4 hours. I'll give my own experience. I started my own consulting called Spinnovation, where I advise CEOs of startups on business strategy and growth. And I wanted to understand how various incubators work. So I called up 3 incubators. There is a Techstars, Y Combinator, which are very well known. I called the founders of both of them, Dave Graham and others. They said, I'm busy for the next 8 weeks. Let's connect in 6 weeks. I'll give you a time. And they did give me time. They gave me 20 minutes. They talked. One of them said, look, you're focusing on building new products within the company. There is another person in my company. You may want to talk to him. There is no benefit for him. There's no reason. But they were busy guys, but they still made time. That's one example. Another person is Tim Bender. He's the founder of Mobile Iron and Mobileye. It's a mobile management company. He took that to see IPO, very rich person. I met him at an event. That's the value of Silicon Valley. I tell you, I want to have lunch with you. We met for lunch. He had time. When they have time, people will give. So it doesn't happen anywhere else. So the point to you here is, why am I talking here, right? I just came back from a trip at 11 o'clock and coming here because it's a way of giving back to Vidyashala, which means a lot. And the same way for you. You have to help your juniors, seniors, and even your own classmates. Don't try to compete against each other, right? You all get better by sharing. So paying it forward is the beautiful thing that happens in Silicon Valley, okay? So the fourth is passion for excellence. And this is the thing I'm going to drive hard here. You don't know what is the bar, okay? Never underestimate, don't be overjoyed. I'm going to be a critic here without taking a name. One of the person I know within kind of in our batch, he got second rank, but he always went to teams that are lower than him because he felt good that he's better than them. So he has not achieved much. He didn't come to the Silicon Valley. He didn't go to MIT or Stanford. He could have achieved more. I'm disappointed for him. The point I'm trying to tell is, raise the bar. You need to compete with the best in the world. And for that, we will bring the right people here. So passion for excellence happens in Silicon Valley. Excellence in the sense, you compete with the best. There'll be a PhD from Czechoslovakia, PhD from Germany. Oh, the German PhDs are awesome, I'll tell you. They're very analytical. And by the way, on a side note, the German language is very close to Sanskrit structurally. So, but Germans and Indians get along very well, by the way, on the side note. So, but you meet those people, you learn from each other. You learn from the best. I learn from not from just Indians. I learn from the Germans, the Brits. Brits are amazingly creative. I know sometimes we don't like the Brits, right? And the rule does, that comes into the picture. That's a joke, but we get along well, but you learn a lot. So the passion for excellence is something. So even within Vidyashala, I think you need to take your goal for what is excellence to the next level. So the last point is very interesting. Shaping the future happens in Silicon Valley a lot, every day. Every day people are thinking, how can I beat Google? How can I defeat Android? Look at what Android. When Apple came, people ganged up, and now Android is there giving a good competition to that, right? I'll give one other example of, you don't need to go to IIT or you don't need to be a rank holder. I gave two examples of my friends who went to PS. There's a guy called Deepak Murthy. He went to BMS College of Engineering, and then he joined Yahoo. And there he was an architect, and he's the founder of Hadoop. He worked closely with Hadoop. Is the big data company, which is like well known in the entire tech industry, Deepak Murthy. So you don't need to go to IIT or anything. You work with the smartest people and you are hardworking. All of these guys, Silicon Valley people work really hard. They don't waste Saturdays and Sundays. The only thing they do is go for a run. Hike is to build the stamina. They say if I can run 100 meters, 4 miles in this many hours, they'll do more. So look what I did. Very well protected here, right? The first thing I did in the US is, I did skydiving, which was getting over my fear, right? Went on a 10,000-foot plane, then you had to jump out of the plane attached to somebody. That was great for me to get rid of my fear. Then I trained for a half marathon. And in Vidyashalites, everything competing, I covered it in 1 hour, 58 minutes, 30 seconds. And the last minute, I thought I'll not beat the 2-hour mark, and people were clapping. And after having run for 1.5 hours, 1 hour, 50 minutes, I really sprinted to finish it within 2 hours. So you push yourself that way. And the craziest thing I have done is bungee jumping. I was in New Zealand on a study trip through my MBA, and there was bungee jumping. You go to the middle of a bridge, and they don't push you. They'll tie your foot so that you don't fall. They could take you to the edge and leave, and you have to jump like you're bored, right? But think it is just another, 70 feet or 100 feet down. So that's all I did. I'm not saying that you should do that, but I wanted to get rid of my own limitations. So that is what I would say. So regarding to the shaping the future, right? When, you know how Hadoop first started, I'll give an anecdote. Google released a paper called Google File System. And that was the foundation for distributed computing, which you will not know. I'm not going to get into the detail. But somebody said, how about if I open source it? Look at what happened. When I was working at Sun, there was no open source. Open source really killed the company. Thinking about disrupting, shaping the future, right? Sun did not know how to respond to disruption. Open source is everybody can compute. They thought it won't succeed. It will be a hobby project. Now nobody uses Sun, everybody uses Linux. So similarly, Hadoop wanted to disrupt the distributed computing market to take that file system and implement it in a different way. So the people are always thinking, and there are best minds. Like today I'm building a chip. I'm a software guy. I need somebody chip. You will know somebody's friend who is a friend who can help you in chip design. Even if you don't know, you can talk to somebody else. You know what? I know this guy. This is what paying forward comes in. So that collaboration is what makes Silicon Valley good. So if you take these 3 things, right, these 5 things, I would suggest that somehow this need to be embedded within Vidyashala. So talking about shaping the future, you don't need to go and invent something. Why don't you write an essay, a creative way? What should world be? How many of you read Isaac Asimov? Any right? Anybody? Fiction? So all of these books, right, you have to think about what, like people are going to Mars, right? Think about crazy. Everybody might laugh at it. It's okay. Nobody knows what the future will be. So take things like that. And I'll give one more incident, and it happened in our PUC batch. With apologies to Maharaj if it is not right, but you know, there will always be one guy gets reprimanded, right? Sometimes they are sent home, all of those things. But I'll tell you what this guy did. He wrote a paper. He had his own ideology. I don't think he was right, by the way. But he wrote it in handwriting and put it on the notice board in the middle of the night. Okay, but he had written it very thoughtfully. I disagree at this stage, but then, you know, we can recognize handwriting was caught and was sent home, kind of like Dibard. But you know where he ended up? He did this law from Harvard Law School. Okay, I'm not saying do that to go to Harvard Law School, but the point is he was thinking for the future. His name is there in the G block. Vishwand I recognized, Nandan Nelavigi. Okay, he's still a great, I mean, he is a thinker. I was a good friend. We both used to walk, oh, this guy's written very well. I used to have a smile. He didn't tell me it was him. I was admiring how he had written. So what I'm trying to tell you here is think. Don't play around just playing TT. You should play TT. But think about how you want to write. This is a challenge for mostly for the first and second PUC. Everybody, right? Think about future. Don't be shy, right? Let everybody laugh. But you're given an attempt to write something about what is the future. So these are the 5 things I wanted to communicate. And I still want to give time for question and answers, but that's the best part. I can answer anything. But a few call to action for everybody. And the first one is Maharaj is doing a fantastic job as a servant of Sri Ramakrishna. The student clubs, the team walked me through. The student clubs are going great. But what students club teach is getting things done. That's the most valuable skill you can learn, project management. That's what US is good at. So if you are, there should not very limited involvement from teachers and Swamijis, just to approve this project. After that, you need to take care of getting things done. Whether it is arranging a trip, a road trip, or say, Maharaj, we need to go and meet, let's say, Excelsoft here, or go and meet Amazon in Bangalore, or Google office. You have to go take initiative, the students club here, talk to somebody and say, we want to have a student's visit here, how can you arrange? You arrange all the logistics and make it happen. That teaches you valuable skills. And that's what the student clubs do. So one couple of ideas I would give is, you have an entrepreneurs club. Okay? You take care of who do you invite. Second, finance club is good. How many of you know Bitcoin here? Oh my God, this is good. Okay, so why did FTX fail? FTX, you know, how many of you know FTX? Good. So you must discuss why FTX failed, right? If you listen to those things, read about it. It's a very good, I'm glad you are listening. Bitcoin. So take a finance club, right? The third is how many of you want to do IAS? So it's great. Look, Annamalai should be an inspiration. But IAS requires a lot of maturity. I'll tell you, I didn't have the maturity till I was 30. I'll be very honest. I was a geek, okay? I was very well protected. That's the reason I did skydiving and all the things I did, because I was very well protected. But I was happy as an engineer geek. But I didn't have the maturity that IAS guys have at 23. I'll be honest at that. For that, you need to read a lot. Don't just study. Read the life stories, right? I'll talk. That's where I have the second. The second, this is January 1st, and it's also Kalpataru Day. I want each one of you, is there a study class, Maharaj? Is there a study class today? Study class, take 20 minutes to write your plan for the next 5, 10, or 30 years, at least bullet points. And after that, write an essay and share it to your favorite teacher or your parents, somebody outside. Okay? Will you do that today? How many of you are going to do? I would like to see raise hands. There are a few people who don't want to do that. That's good. Who are the ones who don't want to do? Can you pick up somebody who didn't raise the hand? Okay, I'm not picking you. But the point is that will push you to think where you are, what skills you need to develop. It's a commit. Once you write it down, it's like an oath that will push you. So finally, broadening your awareness is very important. How do you do that? There are so many ways. And one of the areas where I did not do well in Vidyashala is making good use of the library. Okay? I was more focused on making sure I compete with the guys who all said they were first rank in 7th standard, but I did read a little bit. So my sense is biographies, you learn a lot. Okay? Very important. So if you read anything Walter Isaacson writes, he's written on one, his books are definitely good. We should have some of them in the library. If it's not already there. So I love Elon Musk's. Of course, nobody would go wrong. He's probably one of a kind. I like him better than Steve Jobs, to be honest. Jack Welch, Straight from the Gut, is a very good book. He's a PhD. He's passed away, but I really loved it. I gave it to my brother, who also studied here, and he gave it to my nephew also. I think that's a very good book, but he thinks through why he did his PhD and what happened. Then he became the CEO, one of the very well-known CEOs. Straight from the Gut is good. Steve Jobs. Michael Dell distributed paper to get the money to fund his Dell. You all know the Dell laptops. So think of those things. And Andy Grove is a migrant from Hungary. He was a Jewish. He came with nothing. If you look at we didn't have to struggle, but when I went to US, I only had $100 that my company gave us the starting money. But others had to fight death. And you have to read and get inspired. Now, Abraham Lincoln, you will not go wrong. I didn't get the author. There is a lady who has written a book. She has written, Abraham Lincoln is good. Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci. I'm not missing any Indians. You can read. You'll get a lot of ideas. That's the reason I picked the things that Silicon Valley people read. Okay? Then fiction is important. Ernest Hemingway. Or read about Paulo Coelho. How many of you have read The Alchemist? It's a very interesting book. You may want to read it again after 5 years or 10 years. You'll relate to it in a different way. I'll tell you my story. After I finished Vidyashala, I always had reverence for Vidyashala, nothing else. But I was focused on making my career. I told you about my life story. I did not come back as strongly. Then you go through challenges in your life and then ask, why me? All the spiritual questions. Then I went to read Eckhart Tolle, Art of Living. I didn't connect with them. I went to Sadhguru. Oh, great. I didn't connect with them either. Went to some Sikhism. Because I was getting very agnostic. I later learned that Swami Vivekananda was also agnostic. And I also learned that his favorite Upanishad is Kathopanishad, which is mine as well. So my whole turning point was when I heard Kathopanishad. And then I got attracted to Ramakrishna Mission. Now I'm like a hardcore devotee of Swami Tattvamananda. So what I'm saying is alchemist is the same way. I'm revealing the story here. But the point is, you are here for a reason. That's how important you are. That's what Eckhart Tolle starts. But the point is, you are chosen by Ramakrishna. If you don't understand it, you will realize it later. So the point is, read books like all the books of Paulo Coelho are good. Okay, you love it. Maya Angelou is good. Ernest Hemingway is good. Read poetry. Ayn Rand's, I think you should read. It's a very touchy one. Atlas Shrugged or Fountainhead. It's a must-read in the US. All the high school read. It's a fat book. I think it's a good one. I would suggest watching Shark Tank. India. How many of you watch Shark Tank? Nice. Very good. I'm impressed. Look, I came with all these points when Shumbit, right? Sambhit and Adyut. You guys have very modern names, I forget. It should be Sanjay Rajiv or something like that. But they took me on a tour, and a lot of this is already covered. Okay? So I'm very glad, Maharaj. It's very nice, but I think we can take it to the next level. So I'll pause here, and let's have a good dialogue on any questions you have, and more than happy to answer. I'm good at answering questions. Yeah, go ahead. I think there's one here.
My question is, what was your experience when you go US first time?
Oh, first time. So my first experience was, I didn't like the food, okay? Milk tastes different, everything. But I was very clear. Why do we go to US? For professional satisfaction. I loved it. I'm not regretted. Professionally, here is the reason. Even now in India, as much as you say entrepreneurship and other things, we only get crafts that doesn't work in the US here. This is my experience as well. In India, people cannot think strategically. That's the biggest drawback of our education, and that's one of the things I don't know how to answer, but I'll work with Maharaj to figure out how to instill that in Vidyashala. Indians cannot think strategically. You tell them do these things, they will exactly do what is told. In US, we are trained after working for several companies. Okay, so even the high school kids, I'll give one more example. 12th standard guy or even somebody who has just finished engineering, they are more strategically thinking than many experienced Indians and many experienced engineers. So the point is the caliber and the amount of knowledge. I went to Silicon Valley, so it was amazing. I loved it. So I went there because of professional satisfaction. The project I was doing, I was selected for a very key project, which was envy for many people. I was taken into Unisys on a massively parallel processor system, which is not built at that time. I was chosen. So that's my experience. We go there for the intellectual excellence.
Namaste, sir. I had this question from April 12th of 2022, and I really wanted to ask this question to a Silicon Valley person. So through the conversation, I saw that you like Elon Musk, and he made a purchase of buying Twitter. So the rumors or the facts on Instagram, they say that it's the worst investment of the century. Even if you're active in crypto, the Luna crash or the Squid coin crash, it was better than the purchase of Twitter. Like Twitter's dying day by day. What are your thoughts on the future of Twitter, sir?
Oh, that's a favorite topic for me. Look, this is where I value my strategic thinking. When you went by McKinsey, I'll tell you another story why I work hard. Let me answer this and come back to you. I think that was a brilliant move. Okay. I strongly support that. A lot of people who don't support that are emotional. Okay, this is what happens you need to see in the world. A lot of people are emotional, even in this like Hindutva, like all of those things you have to take the crap away. There is a bias there. A lot of people, I asked a question to everybody. I sent a survey. This is a very passionate topic for me. I'm glad you asked me rather than anybody else. I sent a note on my WhatsApp groups, on my LinkedIn. How many of you use Twitter? 5% in my network. 5%. And everybody has a comment on it. Right? If only 5% are using, is it a success or failure? You know, there are 350 million monthly active users. Facebook has over 1 billion. Even within 350 million active users, I know I run digital marketing. Maybe 100 million are digital marketing accounts, not individuals. Okay? So Musk has done the brilliant thing that needs to be done. He's going to turn it around. You know what he's going to do? He's going to kill Facebook. Okay? Facebook is going to die. Okay? The second thing is, WhatsApp is a failure. If you go to China, WeChat is there everywhere. You don't know. WeChat is not just a chatting system. You can make payment, you can do everything. He's going to convert into that. It's a brilliant move. He's a multi-billion. He's not going to waste his $40 billion. Okay? So I think it's a brilliant move. It will take, but as everything else, only there's a joke. Only thing that is guaranteed is death and taxes. You need to pay taxes, you will die at some point. But so you cannot, but I think it's a brilliant move. I wrote about it at length on all my LinkedIn groups. It's a hot debate. I'm glad you are asking that. Okay, you should ask such questions. You write, and why don't you get together and debate about it? Don't be passionate about that. Okay, debate. Nobody is right. Don't try to be mean to each other. Respectfully hear. Okay, good question.
Good evening, sir. I'm Shubhang from 2nd PUC. You told that you know about Android and Apple, sir. A basic question for all Indians, sir. How do you compare Android with iOS?
iOS, Android and iOS. So I've been at the right time, right? I was at Android, people love it. See, both are important, okay? In the US, people like competition. One of the reasons there is entrepreneurship in the US is the legal system is very good. Right? They encourage competition. They bring them, if somebody becomes a monopoly, already there are talks about breaking up Google. Okay, there is talk about breaking up Amazon because otherwise it doesn't help competition. New ideas don't come up. So Android was required to address another market. It killed Nokia. Now it is only Android and iOS, right? Earlier there was Nokia operating system and there was BlackBerry and there was Microsoft. They got out of it. So Android was a good one. There are tech people who love it, okay, who can tinker around with that. I am an iOS fan because I'm so much a technologist. Now I hate technology, coding, I'll tell you honestly. Because I can hire anybody. I like strategy, what needs to be built. I like the simplicity of Apple. I'm going to get an Apple for my mom, but the reason it's so simple to use. Android, it gets clumsy, but it has its value. Look what Android has done. I bought a new TV over the Thanksgiving. It's so easy. Google Home, you click it, it's free, very small cost. So the iOS would cost more, but there's more innovation because of Android. To set up my smart TV, it's just a matter of just pressing the button. It connected to everything I needed to. So Android is very important for innovation. Hopefully there will be a third operating system. So this is where you always, if there is only one player, that's an opportunity to disrupt. You must think about the idea.
Namaste, sir. My name is Advait Kaushik. I'm studying in 8th standard. My question is, what are the qualifications one needs to become a chartered accountant?
To become a?
Chartered accountant.
Chartered accountant. So I think you should have passion for numbers. I have a couple of friends. I think he's a Vidyashala alum. I'll bring him in next, Maharaj. Sudhindra Kankanwadi. He's a chartered accountant, got his CA and went to India. He used to work for KPMG. Now he's the chief accounting officer at Synopsys, a very well-known company in the US. So at the end of the day, it's all about bookkeeping, accounts. So one of the things you can start doing is make sure you manage your bank accounts for your parents. Okay, you start there. Okay, then you know how much they are going to give you. No joking. But the point is, you have to be good with maths for sure, and then statistics and accounting. You don't need much of maths, but you have to be good at math. And then organization is important. You have to be very systematic. Very systematic is the most important for any accountants. No lazy. They will, if they get they don't delay the activities for the next. The discipline you are going to learn here in Vidyashala is very important. They don't. They are the ones probably will file the tax returns on the first day or the first week that you are eligible. So discipline is important in my opinion. Good with numbers, and then and in chartered accountant, you do need to get a good business sense as well. It's just not numbers. You need to understand business. So join the Entrepreneurs Club as well.
Good evening, sir. Sir, my question is, what's your opinion about OpenAI?
Oh, OpenAI. So I'll tell you one of the interesting things, what happens in Silicon Valley. 5 years ago, I had a friend, hey, there is a get-together during Thanksgiving break at somebody's house in Hillsborough, nice place. I went there. It was about 40, 50 people. OpenAI started there. Okay? At that time, I didn't know it would become that big. I just went, I didn't follow because of other things. So I went to somebody's house, it's a party, somebody puts the money, they want to bring the crowd together. I mentioned that, right? Making things happen, getting things done was one of the things. So those are the things you will learn, right? If you have the skills, how do you organize a movement? There's a book I would suggest you to read called Wisdom of Crowds. I think that probably should be read by every alumni as well. How do you mobilize team? Look at Open Linux or Android. How do you mobilize people? You need leadership skills there. So OpenAI is fantastic. It's going to be successful, and ChatGPT came out of that, and so many other things. So that open movement has taken initiative, and you should participate in that to learn more. And you must also read how Linux became successful, how open source. You'll get ideas. See, the leadership skills comes by influence, right? Look at Mahatma Gandhi. How did he get so many people? Look at Swami Vivekananda. Look, I have not read much about Swami Vivekananda yet, but I think we all need to learn from Swami Vivekananda how he did the movement. Right? He went to Chicago. He lost the address of where to who to meet in Chicago. He slept on the streets of Chicago in a shivering cold, and somebody helped him and go to Harvard. So the point is, leadership is very important, whether it is in OpenAI, Linux, or Android. So OpenAI is a good initiative, just like Linux and Android. It will rule the world in the coming few years.
Sir, my name is Angad. I'm from 8th standard, sir. Sir, as you know, Android is very configurable, sir, and you can freely play around with it as much as you can. Whereas when you come to iOS, you can't play around with it, and it's a little more, locked.
Controlled.
Yeah, controlled. So what are your views on this?
So this is one of the things the Entrepreneurs Club also would need to think. Both have their own business strategy, right? Who are you addressing, right? And iOS says, I'm going to make money, I'm going to be paid for it, but I'll give you the best experience. That's the reason. Look at in iOS, if you want to publish an app, they will go through the security check, they will do all of those things. You'll be guaranteed that an app has been gone through some checking. In Android, anybody can write an app. And I hate using Android because every Android phone is different, right? In iOS, everything is the same, but I use phone just to get work done, not as a technology tinkering. But if you want to tinker it, use Android. So the comment I will give here is that it's the choice of business strategy, right? There are different types of people who want this. There are people who swear by Android. They say, I will never use Apple. If they see my Apple phone, they will tease me. But I don't care. But that's me, okay? But it is like that. Did I answer your question? Thanks.
So everybody wants to go into those foreign universities and study abroad, but like we are less educated on the process on how we should do that. So how do we do it, sir? How do we apply and
apply? So couple of things on that. I'll give two sides of the coin. Let me answer your question directly. I think you should think about studying abroad. Okay? If you look at, I bought the book. You all have this book, right? Man, the Maker of His Own Destiny, right? It's been a while since I came to the bookstore. I bought 3 copies of it. I gave it to my nephew and nieces to read. And one of the sections there is travel. I do remember, I flipped through that. So when you go there, right, your perspective increases. So how do you apply, right? Now you're in the age of internet. Go contact the admin department. They will ask you for guidance. One, of course, you have to write the GRE, GMAT. Those things are there. So start preparing for that right away, the multiple choice questions, right? One of the goals I had, Maharaj, is we publish 100% pass, 90% first class in this. The next goal for Vidyashala is how many people are going to IITs or some other metric like that. But our syllabus doesn't promote it, but some other metric, right? Vidyashala is saying 100% pass is old news, right? You're not raising the bar any further. So to answer your question, right now, right. See, the way US works is your passion, people appreciate that. You can even get scholarship for that if you write. So for that, be active in Entrepreneurs Club. Do social work. So don't just get attracted to entrepreneurship. Go and do Sambit, right? Your app is great. What you're doing, do things like that. You don't need to, see, when you do activities, they don't want, of course you want it to be successful, but not only succeed, your effort is appreciated. When you write, you say, this is what I did, this is why I failed. You know, people are proud to write about their failure. That's how I have changed. I'll give you one example. Maharaj, I was very good at public speaking here, okay? Very good. Now, when I got great mentors. There's a white person, Victor Nelson. He saw me and said, he hired me and did an excellent technical job, so he was very proud, and he wanted to give it back to me because so he made me take a course on Dale Carnegie. Dale Carnegie is only about how to win friends and influence people. That's a book you must read. But the most importantly, they made us talk every week. You need to give 2 talks, both for 2 minutes. And there you don't need to learn about OpenAI or Android, because then you'll go study and you're not communicating is not the issue there. You're thinking about the content. They give a topic where you don't need to think about the subject. Like I'm talking here, I just need to fix 5. I'll talk for hours on those 5, right? Similarly. So we had given topics about, give me your funny incident in your childhood, right? That is one of the emotional intent. Then I had to talk about an emotionally impactful. I talked about my impact the death of my father had on my life. It was not easy. I didn't finish the talk because I never cried about it when I had to speak on the stage, right? I thought I will speak, and after 30 seconds, I just couldn't talk. But that pushed my limit, right? So what I'm trying to tell you here is, now it's for him. I can focus here. So the point here is, when you apply, right, go passionately, reach out, prepare for GRE. You will get scholarship as well. Do things outside of the box. So don't ever be, one of the things about US is it's the land of opportunities. Your dreams are the only shortcomings. Okay, I did apply, I didn't get scholarship, so I didn't go. So you can also go on a job and then do an MS. I'll give another my regret. I had 15 credits from Stanford, from the master's program. I didn't want another engineering degree. So I stopped, and if I had written GRE, I could have enrolled and I would got another degree, or I was taking computer science courses, but I did my MBA instead, which is fine. But the 5 courses I took, why do Google come out of Stanford? One of the 2 assignments, I'll tell you why you need to study abroad. Okay, either IITs or go abroad. One project was, you know the chip, right, that is there in the phone? We were asked to design a chip using Verilog. Hardcore. I was a software engineer. We can design a chip. After that, to prove your chip has been designed properly, they give you a bubble sort algorithm in assembly language. How many of you know bubble sort? There's a program, okay? How do you sort numbers? They give you a number and to run it on it to prove yours is working. And I used to work from 8 to 5, take 1 hour break, and work in the lab from 6 to midnight. My brand is that I hardly sleep for 4 hours. Now I sleep more. But the point is you work, and that's the level. If I got 100 out of 100 on that. And when I built that, I had the confidence to build a chip. Similarly, I designed the entire TCP/IP protocol in the networking class. And those 2 classes made me shine much better in my job. The reason I got arrogant was I was treated much better than people from Stanford and other universities. I did so well. So what I'm trying to tell is the class, I told you, excellence, you go to good universities. Don't compromise. Many a times you need to go to abroad to do that also. If somebody is giving a scholarship, go. Look, here's the point. You're going to work for the next 40 to 50 years. Think about that. 1 or 2 years doesn't matter. You'll always be learning.
Sir, namaste, sir. So my question is, you should really study an MBA to become an entrepreneur. Should you?
No, not necessarily. You learn by doing, okay? But I'll tell you why you need to do an MBA. My father was just a salaried employee, no business experience, okay? For me, I was too much of an engineer. And when I did an MBA, I could have done an executive MBA. That is 1 year. I didn't do. I did the normal evening MBA. Took me 2.5 years. I wanted to take all the courses I wanted to. It really gave me the broader perspective. So MBA has its value, but MBA alone will not make you successful. I learned a lot by changing jobs and taking the jobs I need. So the point is you will learn by doing. But MBA gives you the foundation, just like engineering, right? Nowadays, look at the founder of OYO. He was taken by Peter Thiel's foundation, and he's successful. He didn't finish his engineering degree, he doesn't have an MBA, look what he's doing. What did he do for 6 months? He went to every OYO hotel and asked why the people want to join. So all the Entrepreneurs Club, summer program, don't go play TV or games and others. Take a passion, go meet somebody, go work in an NGO, come back and write about it when you come back. One of the goals I'll tell Maharaj is this summer, the first week should be exciting things I did in summer. Let there be an open show on a Saturday, 3 to 10, or whatever, 9 to 10 when everybody is going to summer, right? So my point here is, the reason I'm here is to call to action is raise the bar. Don't waste your summer. Or you should enjoy also, go for a family trip and others, but don't just enjoy. Do more things. Your competition is big, I'll tell you. You look at Silicon Valley or even Bangalore, people are working really hard. So those are my other tidbits. Thanks.
I thank Sanjay sir for his words of inspiration. It was truly a great talk. Sir spoke about how to make hard decisions, how Vidyashala helped him in acquiring leadership qualities. He told us to work hard and to never quit and to think about the future and and to think out of the box. He spoke about the various competitions in the Silicon Valley and how we have to work hard and think out of the box to succeed there. And I think this was truly a very good talk, and I know that everybody enjoyed it because even I enjoyed it. Now I would like to tell Swamiji to give sir a small token as a small memento as a token of our appreciation. I would like Prasanna sir to present some books to Sri Vishwanath sir as a token of our appreciation. Arun sir will present it. I also would like to thank our OBA secretary Arun sir for hosting Sanjay sir today in Mysuru. Thank you, sir. We'll end the program with Shanti Mantra.
Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.